Welcome to Season 5 of Your Bird Story, a podcast about everyday people and their relationships and interactions with wild birds. I'm your host, Georgia Silvera Seamans. Welcome everyone to another episode of Your Bird Story. I am pleased to be with Matthias Garff.
Yeah, hello, I'm Matthias, or as many say here in the US, Matthias, but I'm from Germany, an artist, here for half a year in New York. I'm doing a residency at ISCP. It's an art institution in Brooklyn and Williamsburg, and I'm mainly work with sculptures and yes, so it's already the end of my stay. I started in January, and next week I have to go back to Leipzig, where I live in Germany.
Folks can't see what's behind you because this is an audio-only podcast, but there are incredible bird sculptures, bird puppets behind you. Could you talk about how you make each bird in your collection?
So I came here with this idea to observe bird life in Central Park. So I mainly work with found materials when I'm doing my sculptures. So they have like kind of normal bird size or even a bit bigger. And I use many things I found here in my neighborhood and in Central Park. So for example, I started in January, so I collected a lot of gloves I found around, as well as some shoes and different things like plastic and packages of metal sheets, like all kind of stuff I found around. And so first I collected a lot of materials, and I think normally how I work is I need a lot of things around me, and then I have the idea of specific bird I want to build, and so I put the things together then.
Okay. You mentioned that you found a lot of gloves when you started in winter. Did you notice a change? Like, what changes did you notice in the materials you've been able to collect as the seasons have changed?
Yeah, so in winter, mainly gloves. But here in Williamsburg as well, there's a lot. In Bushwick, there's always a lot of things on the streets. So actually, as it went warmer after some like in February, March, people spend more time outside, and there's even more trash around, I think, like as in winter. I don't know really if there's a big change. Like there are some kind of materials you find always, like cardboard or like all these packages of food. Like the gloves are a good example of like a winter thing. And I found some sandals that was more like in spring. I think I would have not found them in winter.
Yeah, probably not a very brave person to wear sandals in the winter. Okay, so the birds themselves, you knew you wanted to work in Central Park. Did you have a list before starting, or did your list grow as you visited the park?
No, I had no list. Like it's the first time for me in New York or even in the States. So I'm observing as well birds in Germany, but there were a lot of new species for me here around. I started like with this curiosity to find new species or to look around what I can find. And I bought some books, so I did a kind of a research about, and I met some birders, like I connected with the New York City queer birders. So I went with them several weekends for like tours and bird walks. And so that was the way I learned about the birds. So I started without a list. I really just spent a lot of time in Central Park and in other parks as well, and just observed what I see.
And how do you decide which materials you're going to use for each species? Like, do you sketch it out and then decide on the materials that way? What's your process?
I don't work with sketches. It's more like I have this idea for a specific bird, and in this case, as I wanted to build them kind of as puppets, so there are always like parts I can move. And so I thought a lot about their behavior. And for example, the American robin, it's like I observed it always searching for worms on the lawn, on the ground. So I tried to imitate this with a little wheel I found on the street, so I can turn the head like up, down. Yeah, so little details, or like the peak is out of pencils, of yellow pencils. So it's more like I really try to observe the birds and then find good solution for each part of the body.
I've seen some of your videos on Instagram where you bring the puppets to life. So I think one of the recent ones I watched was one of the woodpeckers on the trunk of a tree. And I'm curious what inspired you to do that. And then also, what have been the reactions from New Yorkers?
Yeah, that was kind of a new approach for me. I wanted to try something new for my residency here. So I always had this idea of put my sculptures in movement. In the past, already many like bird sculptures, but they were more like static. So I always had this idea, it would be great if they move, and even if when I bring them back to their natural habitat. So this was my idea, to bring them back into the park and film them at the same spots where I first observed the real birds. Like, it was the first time for me working in public space, and the reactions were really nice. First, I was a bit shy. I didn't know how people react. It took me a while to like just play around with the birds more freely. And then I realized there were like different reactions. Many didn't really care. I think in New York kind of used that people doing strange things around you. So, but many were as well really curious. So they asked me what I'm doing. Often they asked me if they are real. That was really funny. That was often the reaction. They asked, is this bird real? And then, of course, they saw it more like from distance, and then came nearer, and then I explained them, and I had really nice encounters. And I heard a lot of bird stories, like personal encounters with the visitors told me about Flaco a lot. It was really nice, those talks, and yeah, really friendly atmosphere, most like in Central Park. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite of the birds that you have made?
Yeah, I like all of them, as I had like spent a lot of time with them. But I think my favorite is the jaybird, the blue jay, because it's kind of my favorite bird as well. In Germany, we have jaybirds. They are just different. Like, they're more orange. They have some blue feathers on their wings. So it's really different to this blue jay here. I mean, those striking blue feathers, it's just beautiful. And I really like that they are so noisy, and I'm kind of attracted to those noisy birds.
That's interesting. I've talked with a lot of people who do like blue jays because of their blue feathers, and then they will say, but they are very noisy.
That's maybe why I like birds. I was always interested in nature in an urban surrounding, as I was always like living in cities, and birds you can observe everywhere, and they are like, I'm just really fascinated how they can adapt to this city and find their ways to survive and living among us. And even like those noisy birds, I really like that they just don't care about, like, they've just claimed their territory, and that's why I like them, that they appear quite like confident about being present in the city.
Yeah, the blue jay is definitely not calling any quieter because we're around. So you mentioned you've lived in a city environment, and that's where you've observed birds mostly. Are you from a family that is a birding family?
Yeah, kind of. Like, especially my grandfather, he was really into his birds in his garden. So that's kind of where I came to the birds, because he lived in Buenos Aires in Argentina. And he did a lot of drawings and like wrote even like little poems about his birds in the garden. And over many years, he sent us letters, and it was mainly about birds. So there was this connection with the birds. There was this quite close connection to my grandfather. And I visited him like doing my art studies and realized it was so nice to observe the birds together with my grandfather, and they were all there. And that's where it came from. Like then the first sculptures I built were like those birds I've observed in my grandfather's garden.
Did you use a similar technique, or were these the static sculptures you referenced?
I worked with found materials. I just always like to work with things that are very approachable or just around me. Yeah, I just took like different things I found in like containers of our art school in the backyard. They were like containers, so I took a lot of things other students threw out there. So yeah, they were quite large. So for the first birds I built were up to 3 meters, higher than me.
So that's probably more than 6 feet.
So they were quite high. I really liked this feeling that being surrounded by those large birds sculptures. I'm always like to work in groups. Like I did different groups of birds. Well, like German garden birds. I did a group of them like some years ago, and they were as well bigger than me. Mm. I always felt really comfortable, like surrounded with those birds.
Do you have plans for the Central Park birds that you've made this year?
So my residency is coming to an end. I had some days ago an outdoor exhibition in a community garden, so I really wanted to show them outside in their natural habitat. This was really nice, and I'm planning for this Thursday a little walk in Central Park to show some of the birds with a smaller group of people, like just to have a little walk and show some of those birds and how they can move. Yeah, and then I tried to store them somewhere here in New York and come back maybe later this year or next year. I'm in contact with some gardens and with a botanical garden. I will meet with someone. Maybe there's a chance that I can show the birds later, in some month. Would be nice. Because I was thinking to bring them back to Germany, but then I thought, no, they are New Yorker birds. They belong here.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Do you have plans for making bird sculptures in the near future? Birds seem to be a thread throughout your life.
Yeah, I mean, I would say 80% of my work is kind of bird related. I do other sculptures as well, but as mostly animals, and mostly like animals I observe in my daily life in Leipzig, where I live, or when I travel. I'm still working on this video about those birds here in Central Park, so I will finish that. But I really like this idea I developed now with what I did some days ago in this community garden. I want to repeat it maybe in a different surrounding, to have like a residency a month somewhere abroad and then observe bird life and organize this kind of bird walk. So the idea is you have like a checklist. I printed out a handout with all the birds you can observe, and then I placed them around in this garden or in a park, and some were quite hidden in trees, so you really had to search for them. So people get binoculars and walk around, and that was really fun. So I would really love to try this again in another country, other environment. It could be as well in Germany, but this idea of having an outdoor exhibition was really great. So definitely there will be more birds coming up.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun, a bit of a scavenger hunt nature.
Yeah. It's outside. I like about my work that it's very approachable, so everyone can enjoy from like as well. There were some children, they really liked searching for these birds, but in every generation, like I really like to see them in nature.
And these birds don't move, so
yeah, that's even better. Yeah, it's quite sure that you will find some.
Exactly.
But the funny thing was that there were like as well like real birds around, so it's like this kind of mixture. I did it together with Hannah from Queer Birders, so we had combined it with a tour and we talked about bird life and biodiversity in the city. I like this idea to work together as well with like experts or like other bird enthusiasts or someone who can tell more about biodiversity. It was really nice. So this kind of cooperations, I think I will try to continue this kind of work.
Yeah, I mean, one of the cool things about your project, the birds that you've created, they're a really diverse lot of native species. And I think it's a good way to showcase that cities have a lot of biodiversity. They support a lot of interesting species.
Especially in New York, like it's so surprising how many species are around. And then I realized that, of course, when you're not spending so much time in parks or not focusing on that, you don't see them. Like as well here, we had open studios at ISCP, like many visitors of like were really surprised how many species you have here. And I just show like 16 of like maybe 10% of bird life you can encounter. That's really a nice way maybe to show this. I was always part of my work. I want to find ways to show this variety of life around us.
Yeah, I hope there's an opportunity in the future. I would love to see the birds in real life.
Yeah, I will let you know if there's any upcoming bird walk in New York.
I wanted to close with this question. It might be a two-part question. Is there anything that surprised you about New York City and the variety of birds you encountered and or people that you met along the way? And what do you want people to think about when they're thinking about nature in cities?
Yeah, I was really surprised how many bird lovers you have here in the city and how many like birding groups exist and like this whole to encounter this whole community. I mean, you had this pigeon fest last weekend. There's so many things happening, and that was really beautiful to see and how they organize and just meet and it's like come together. It's this feeling of community was really beautiful to experience. In New York, I mean, you have so much to discover and there's all the parks. Yeah, but maybe you always have to think about like that this is kind of an island, like those spots or like Central Park. It's of course you find a lot of biodiversity, but you always have to be aware of all those problems we humans are causing. I mean, that's part of my work to show as well, like maybe to just realize how everything is connected, that how we use our resources and how we treat like the environment has like an immediate effect to like biodiversity and other living beings, and to see all this trash around. And I mean, for me, it's beautiful to work with those materials, but of course it's like it causes a lot of problems. So maybe just to be more aware of like that we still have this beautiful nature around. I heard about like they are saying that like I mean in the cities you have often more biodiversity than outside the cities, because like all this how we work with agriculture and all those monoculture, like because a lot of problems. And I mean maybe just be more aware of like the surrounding really close to you and listen to the birds in your street and just appreciate what we have. Maybe that's the first step to be nicer to our environment.
Yeah, I mean, if we become more aware and we notice the variety of life around us, maybe we can start making the connections between our choices and the ability for other species to thrive alongside us.
Yeah, I think it's really important to realize how everything is so closely connected. Sometimes we forget it, especially in cities. So we live our life and forget about like all those little things around us.
Well, I really want to thank you, Matthias, for talking with me about your project and just all the experiences you've had in New York City. It's been a lot of fun and I've learned a lot.
Thank you so much for having me. And I've put some of the videos on my Instagram. You can find it there or on my website. It was really nice talking with you, and it was a good ending for my residency as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you for listening to this episode of Your Bird Story. We will be taking a break in August. Tune in for our next episode in September. In the meantime, explore our archives, like, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Your Bird Story is edited and produced by Pod to the People. Your Bird Story is an initiative of Local Nature Lab.